I was unconscious when the betrayal took place. Tubes in my nose, IVs in my arm, the heart monitor beeping rhythmically beside me. The sounds of survival, I thought. At 43, I'd worked for the same real estate firm for nearly 2 decades, climbing from the lowest rung as a junior agent to senior partner. I had poured every waking hour into building something not just for myself, but for my wife, Claire, and our teenage daughter, Lily. It wasn't just a job, it was my identity, my pride, my life's work. Then the heart attack hit. It wasn't cinematic like they show in the movies, no clutching of the chest and dramatic gasping, just a pressure, a sense of deep wrongness in my chest as I collapsed while showing a multi-million-dollar listing. The next thing I knew, I was in a hospital room with bright lights and a nurse telling me I'd be fine. "You were lucky," she said. "Very lucky." I believed that, until 3 days into recovery when my assistant Mark dropped by with flowers and a strained expression. "There's something you should know," he muttered, awkwardly avoiding my eyes. He reached into his bag and pulled out a manila envelope. Inside was my termination letter. I laughed at first. Surely this was some mistake. I had tenure, I had equity, I was a damn partner in the firm. Then I read further. The signature at the bottom wasn't mine. It was Claire's. "Claire signed this?" I asked, my voice hoarse and shaking. "She said you gave her permission, that it was what you wanted," Mark replied, fidgeting. "HR said she had power of attorney while you were under sedation." I didn't remember granting her that, but I was drugged, and she was my wife. Of course I would have trusted her. I had nothing to hide, nothing to fear. Or so I thought. When Claire arrived later that evening, I confronted her immediately. "I was doing what's best," she said coldly, not even looking guilty. "You need rest. You're not cut out for that job anymore. It's too much. I told them you were stepping down and taking your share. It's already settled." "Settled?" I choked. "Claire, that job was everything. I bled for the company. You signed away my career while I was unconscious?" She didn't flinch. "It's done, Tom. You need to accept it." I felt like the world had tilted. My wife, the woman I had loved, supported, trusted, had made the decision for me, but it wasn't concern I saw in her eyes. It was relief, even something close to satisfaction. Over the next few days, I began to notice things I hadn't before. She was always on her phone, stepping outside for hushed conversations. She had a new energy, a new wardrobe, a glow that wasn't for me. I chalked it up to stress at first, or maybe the fear of losing me had changed her somehow. But the more I watched, the more distant she became. When I returned home from the hospital a week later, it was like entering someone else's house. My favorite chair was gone. My office had been converted into a yoga room. My nameplate from the firm, the one that sat proudly on my desk for years, was nowhere to be found. Then came the worst blow. One night, unable to sleep, I went into the kitchen and found Claire on a video call. She didn't hear me come in. On her screen was a man I knew all too well, Richard, my boss. Or rather, my ex-boss. He was smiling, sipping what looked like wine, and said, "I'll have the papers for the investment property transferred over by Friday. You deserve it. You played this perfectly." Claire laughed, a laugh I hadn't heard in years. "He never saw it coming," she said. "Honestly, it was almost too easy. He trusts everyone. That's his problem." I stepped back quietly, heart pounding, not from the after effects of the heart attack, but from something darker, something breaking. They had planned it. The whole thing. I wasn't just betrayed. I was used. And now, as I stood in the ruins of a life I thought was built on loyalty and trust, I realized something vital. They had taken everything, or so they believed, but they forgot who they were dealing with. I built that company from the ground up. I had connections, leverage, and one final move they would never see coming. All I had to do now was recover, and let them believe I was defeated. Because the real comeback? I spent the next few weeks at home recovering, but not just from the heart procedure. I was healing from a deep emotional wound. Lying in that hospital bed, I had trusted Claire to be by my side, to care for me. Instead, she stabbed me in the back with a smile on her face. And Richard, The man who called me his right-hand guy for over a decade had tossed me out like trash. The two people I trusted most had planned this behind my back, but I wasn't going to just sit there and take it. The first person I called was my old friend and attorney, Mark. We'd gone to college together, and he was the godfather to my daughter. I trusted him. When I told him everything, he was quiet for a long time. "She signed your termination papers while you were unconscious?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "I never gave her permission, and I sure as hell never signed over my power of attorney." "Well," he sighed, "we've got a serious legal problem here, but I've got your back." Mark got to work, pulling records, checking with the hospital, and speaking with people at my company. What he found made my stomach turn. Claire had forged my signature on the power of attorney documents 2 weeks before my heart attack. She used that to sign the paperwork to get me fired, claiming I was no longer mentally or physically able to work. Richard submitted the forms to HR without even checking in with me. It was a setup. They wanted me out, and they used my medical crisis as the perfect excuse. But that wasn't all. While I was out of the office, they had been moving money around. Richard had started shifting company funds into private accounts, and Claire had suddenly invested in several properties under a fake business name. Mark found paperwork linking her to a new LLC, something called Blue Ridge Consulting. It was fake, just a cover for funneling stolen money. I felt sick, not just from the betrayal, but from how far they'd gone. They weren't just trying to fire me, they were stealing everything I had built. But if they thought I was going to disappear quietly, they didn't know me at all. I reached out to the only person at work I still trusted, Julia, the firm's senior accountant. She'd been with the company for 15 years, and we'd always had a strong, honest working relationship. I asked if we could meet in person, and when I told her everything, she didn't even hesitate. "I thought something felt off," she said. "Ever since you went to the hospital, Richard's been acting different. There were weird fund transfers and closed-door meetings. I knew something was wrong." She gave me access to internal records. Quietly, with Mark's help, we documented everything. Dates, amounts, signatures, even emails between Claire and Richard planning out my removal. They called it the quiet exit plan. They joked about how easy it was going to be. One email from Claire said, "He'll be on too much pain meds to know what's happening. Just get the paperwork ready. I'll handle him." I wanted to scream, but instead I smiled, because I had what I needed. We took it all to the company board. Not all of them liked me, but none of them could ignore evidence of fraud. They launched an internal investigation and put Richard on temporary leave. Claire was banned from company property. I wasn't just clearing my name, I was burning their bridge behind them. When Richard found out, he tried to play it cool. He called me. "It's not personal, man," he said, his voice fake and smooth. "We just thought it was time to go in a different direction." "You mean your direction," I replied, "with my money, with my wife." He was silent. I hung up. The investigation didn't take long. The emails, the fake documents, the money trail, it all pointed to Richard and Claire. But the final blow came when the notary who witnessed my signature confessed. She admitted Claire paid her to fake it. With that, the police stepped in. Richard was arrested for embezzlement and fraud. Claire was hit with charges too: fraud, forgery, and identity theft. I watched from the back of the courtroom as the woman I once thought I'd grow old with stood in handcuffs. Her designer clothes wrinkled, her mascara running down her face. She didn't look powerful anymore. She looked scared, like a liar caught in her own trap. She tried to talk to me outside the court. She cried. She said she was lost and confused. She said she only did it because she thought I was going to die. But I didn't care. I looked her in the eyes and said, "I would have given you everything, but you took it like a thief." I didn't just get my name cleared, I got justice. And with a little help, I started over. I launched my own small consulting business. Julia came with me. We picked up 3 major clients within 2 months. Word spread fast in our industry. People respected a man who fought back and came out stronger. And the best part? I did it all while keeping my dignity. I didn't yell, I didn't beg, I just stood up slowly and walked out of the ashes they tried to bury me in. Claire and Richard thought I was finished, but all they did was set the stage for my comeback.